Hello, Jonathan Gullis, welcome to Talk Breakfast. Where is he? Oh, come on, Susan,
prank.
get with the programme. Has he gone? Jonathan Gullis, good morning.
Jeremy, can you hear me?
Oh, my God, you see, Susan's giving me the look. How are you, sir? You all right?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm all right. A reason I wanted to get you on, and I really, because the one thing that got everybody going earlier, and you actually sent me a message, and we were having a... Did you hear the teacher, Faye, who was on the picket line today? The teacher,
The worst advert for teaching ever. That's what it was. The worst advert for why people should go into teaching.
The thing is, right, if I'm being completely honest, before I get into a debate about how much the public sector can look, what I said to her, Jonathan, was, as she stood in the sunshine smiling, she said squinting, I said, it's the tone. We're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. Whether people like this or not, teachers get far more holiday than other people. They say it's not about money, but all she talked about was 7 or 8%. She said schools were unsafe. She said systems didn't work. She said this, that and the other. And yet I had loads and loads of people... We've lost him again. I had loads and loads of people, Benedict, teachers on their way to work saying this is disgusting. Loads of people responding to that.
Do you know what? That's an important thing that needs to be said, is that just because some teachers have gone on strike, some unions go on strike, does not mean that they speak for everybody. They're not some homogenous group, and lots of people go into it for different reasons.
Apparently he's back. Don't the Tory party pay your phone bill anymore?
Sorry, Jeremy. I'm picking between 5G and 4G, which is an odd experience for me.
He's on the school run. You're right about that, teacher, but what was, to me, against the grain, pal, was it was so bloody tone deaf with what's going on.
Well, exactly. This is the problem. When you see teachers having organised picnics on strike days led by the National Education Union, it just really gets on parents' nerves. Parents who have given up a day's pay because they have had to stay home with their young one. A child yet again missing another day in the classroom with the expert, which is the teacher, trying to make sure that we, in places like Stoke-on-Trent, really deliver on that levelling up agenda, which can only be achieved by what Benedict has been banging on about when it talks about immigration. You need to skill up and educate up areas of the country, like Stoke-on-Trent, to make sure they get those level 3 and 4 qualifications they haven't been getting for generations, so they can get those high-skilled, high-wage jobs, which will improve our economy, not just locally, but also nationally as well.
In terms of away from education, just briefly, we've had a huge discussion because of this article in The Sun today that Harry Cole wrote about immigration and a plan put forward to cancel visas that Liz Truss apparently said it's no-go. We've spoken to an immigration law. We've had all sorts of debates about this. People get very, very angry. Somebody literally, well, Ivan Sampson said that mass immigration, Jonathan Gullis, is the only way to improve your economy. But Benedict and I were saying to him, but didn't get much response, if you flood this country with cheap labour, that might increase profits of companies, but it doesn't in fact help the very people like that teacher on strike saying we want more. And here's my thing that people look at, they still look at me in this building like I'm mad when I say this. Yes, there are people who are mentally ill and disabled, right, on benefits, but there are hundreds of thousands who should and I think could work. Why does your government, why does this country not spend more time getting those people back to work rather than paying them to sit and do nothing whilst flooding the country with immigrants? I don't understand.
Well, Jeremy, you'll forgive me for shamelessly plugging the new Conservatives 12-point plan that we launched on Monday, which I'm proud to be a member of, and which is amiably led by Danny Kruger and Miriam Cates, both members of Parliament, where we actually said this very point, that what we need to do is to see supply-side reforms. And if we look at HGV drivers, which was referenced earlier by one of your, I think, lefty-leaning guests that you had on earlier, what happened was that when we had a shortage, rather than giving out 100,000 visas like Sir Keir Starmer wanted, the government made supply-side reforms, access to training quicker, speeding up of the testing that needs to happen as well. Then the employer themselves increased the wages and terms and conditions, and guess what? We solved the problem within. And this is something that's important to me, because my grandfather spent his entire professional career driving lorries for Boyers, as they were known, I think Northern Foods, as they later became in the past. And obviously we've made the point that, you know, in the health and social care sector, there's 30,000 BTEC students studying health and social care. If you just 12% of the 5 million economically inactive people in our country into health and social care, we would not need to pull the lever of immigration in order to fill these vacancies. So as you say, of course, people with physical disabilities that are unable to do certain jobs, or people with mental illnesses that means that they are unable to go into work, or we're not talking about them. We're talking about those people who are choosing to live off the state, off the British taxpayer, without putting anything back into the system. And Jeremy, to finally back up your point, the Bank of England themselves have said that a 10% increase in immigration will see a 2% drop in wages for low-skilled and unskilled services sectors in our country. So there's the evidence to say to people that actually immigration doesn't raise wages. Lord Stuart Rose himself, before the Brexit referendum, admitted when he was campaigning for Remain, and I thought it was very brave of him to do so, that mass immigration, free movement, actually suppresses wages in this country. It was a great gift for the Leave campaign, but we respected the honesty in the Remain campaign back as it was then.
Benedict?
I think something else I'd like to just touch upon, though, is it's not just sort of people who are on out-of-work benefits who are providing a bit of a drag on the economy who could be going back into work. A lot of people have retired or retired early, as partly as a result of pension policies.
Why did you look at me when you said that?
You're not retired.
58
You're not
today.
retired,
No.
but it's coming any second.
All right, okay. Probably at 9:30 the way it's all going.
I was going to say I can tell because you're so frustrated with having to talk to me all day. But I think that just to go back to the idea of teachers and there not being enough teachers and resources, there is a pool of people in this country who could actually give a lot to the teaching profession. They are people who are older, who have retired, who have experience of life. I don't see why there shouldn't, because you're the person. I'll look over here. There are lots of people that could ultimately do a very good job going into the teaching profession to alleviate some of that stress on shortages of teachers. We should find a way of persuading some more of those people to give back something to society because they're still young enough to work and give something back.
I think for both of you, I think whether we encourage or whether we pay or whether we train, I think we have to acknowledge that, well, listen, Jonathan, this might sound wrong, but when I left school, you went to work or you went to university. Now, I'm sorry if people dislike that. I think there's a third career choice and it's sitting on your ass getting paid to do nothing. Jonathan Gullis, thank you very much indeed for now. Benedict Spence, we're approaching the news at 9. At 9:30, Kevin Mike, that triple espresso shot, the new show. Don't miss it. I get to go home early and at my presence because it's my birthday. Good morning.